So who talks first? You talk first? I talk first?
Ladies, gentlemen, Parwan species of a Lovecraftian age, welcome to episode 26 of Hell of a Pilot. With me tonight, and as always, this time we're at Lockie's house, and he's hijacking the show. Thanks for that, Lockie. Also, hi, Lockie.
Yeah, my house, my rules, man.
Also, on my left is the great, the OG Mike.
Thanks, Owen. Yes, I am OG, being old enough to have seen A New Hope in the cinemas.
Oh, I think I watched the re-release. I might have already said this on the show.
Yeah.
Like in the 90s?
Yeah.
My dad took me to see A New Hope in 97.
No, I was there in 77.
Oh.
I was young.
Good times around. Oh, that childhood though.
Yes.
So Lockie, since you're hijacking the show, what are we doing on the show today?
Okay, we are here, and I've taken over because I have a vision.
I have a gun to my head.
You promise. The note that I'm holding up specifically says you are not supposed to say that.
Ow! Please,
Mike, hit him again.
No!
But
Children.
So I have a vision of how this episode needs to go. It's slightly different to usual. We're going to do the shout-outs at the start.
Madness.
So everybody...
Dogs and cats living together in a scene.
So if you listen to our show, you would know that at the end, we always do shout-outs to people. Now, look, you're only human. You might be busy. Maybe you skip that segment at the end. Really hope you don't. But if you usually do, don't skip it today, because the end of the episode is going to be a surprise.
It's also a surprise to us, because he's being super
secret.
Yes.
Yeah.
They asked me some very reasonable questions, which I have refused to answer.
He's like a mad boffin.
So, shout-outs
Give
at
a
the
man
beginning.
a gun and
All the power. Shout-outs at the beginning of the episode. Go.
Alright. Happy shout-out time, guy. It's the end of the night. And
That was a short shot.
I know.
Did they fall asleep, or did Lachlan?
No, I just got sick of editing. I wanted to shout out to all our good friends at YouTube. If for those who don't know, we just recently started a YouTube channel, and within a day we had followers, which was awesome.
That's great. Thank you, guys.
Yeah, thank you. So I wanted to shout out to Rose and Geller Squadron, because they're the best. They're the guys we interviewed from Peru, and my God, they're just the nicest people.
Yeah.
We obviously wanted to shout out to Harry Nick. We've Lockie's gone on his channel just the once.
Just once, yeah.
Just the once. We've had him on the show a couple times. We also wanted to... Kamikaze Badger.
Oh, that is such a good name.
Hi, Kamikaze Badger. Thanks for subscribing. Thanks for commenting. Thanks for making me say your name. And T. Robinson47. Yeah, guys, welcome to YouTube. Thanks for making us feel welcome. Mike.
Yeah, Cherry Gladman of Great Australian Pods.
Yeah, that was... I don't know exactly what's going on there. We just got an alert one day at the Facebook page that said, you have been shared on Great Australian Pods, which is a website that's all Australian podcasts. And
What?
It was a nice lady...
Are you kidding?
No, I'm not kidding. And this really nice lady named Sherry Gladman is the one who ran it all. And I said to her, look, hey, because I don't know this person, and none of you guys do either. I just said, hey, how has this happened? And she said, oh, somebody suggested that your podcast be on our site. So I
wonderful.
And I said, oh, can you tell us who it was? And she goes, I don't remember.
So thank you, mysterious benefactor.
Yeah. So, look, if whoever did that is listening, if you want a guaranteed shout out in our next episode, send us a message in the next 2 weeks.
It's going to be like Spartacus. I'm Spartacus. No, I'm Spartacus. I'm Spartacus.
And I want to shout out to Captain Bloodflag, who is somebody I spoke to on Reddit because he started a thread talking about how he had a massive surplus of alt art FFG cards that he was basically throwing away. And I remembered speaking to Rothangela Squadron, speaking to Guillermo the other week about how. I know, I tried. About how they never get alt art cards. So I spoke to Captain Bloodflag and said, hey, you know how you're throwing out these cards? I have a friend who can never ever get alt art cards ever.
That's
can he have
awesome.
them?
Yeah.
So they've been in touch and he's going to send them out. Like, we live in this global X-Wing community, which is pretty awesome. Yeah.
And the X-Wing community is awesome. Just awesome. Globally.
As the podcast you guys did clearly demonstrated.
Yeah.
So, yeah. Chris, also known as Suntir Fel.
Oh yeah, sorry, I forgot that. Captain Bloodflag had a shout out of his own because he's incorporated with the Carolina Crates podcast, and his shout out is hi Chris, also Suntir Fel.
Who doesn't love Suntir Fel? What's anyway. Jenny shared us on Instagram. How cool is that?
Yeah.
We're going across platforms.
Is this
YouTube,
is this
Facebook?
the puppy one?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh.
The basket of puppies.
Yeah, our puppy meme is going around.
Okay, so every meme from this point forward, every video we do has kittens.
Just in the background.
Just generally.
Meow. All right, and finally the big one. Who's doing this?
I'll do it.
You do this.
Oh, that was Yep. We got a lovely thank you from Michael Bird in the US. When we interviewed him, he was very grateful to be on our show. We were grateful to have him, and then he sent us some cards, some alt art cards, and they're super cool.
They're amazing.
Yeah. He was the one doing us a favor, and he sent us a thank you gift because he's just incredibly nice, apparently.
Can I just say these are some of the best alt art cards I've seen.
They're spectacular.
So as an Imperial Flyer, the Chiranu, the Chirpy card, is fantastic. I love it. I will proudly use.
What else is on the show, Lockie, since you have taken over this?
Oh yeah, I hereby grant permission for the following things to be in this episode. So
I object.
Well, Mike. You shouldn't, because it's your turn to do the law section.
Oh, damn it.
Mike, who are you talking about?
I'm not talking about an individual. I am going to be talking about the humble TIE Fighter. Its origins, both in the real world, when it was created for the original New Hope, and in lore as
Classic
well.
Mike.
Yeah, of course.
And
I would like to have your take on what it means from A Last Jedi. We'll get there.
We'll get there, yep.
And for our general meat and potatoes discussion, we're going to just talk about the factions, and in the absence of any news that's been happening lately, and just with what FFG is doing with their other games and FAQs lately and so on, what are our factions going to be like in the future?
Also, there was a little thing that happened on the interwebs and movie-wise.
Oh, at the Super Bowl? Yeah.
Oh, yeah, no, that's the other thing. The
Han Solo trailer.
Han Solo trailer.
Yeah. Teaser trailer, and then the actual trailer. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And then a big surprise at the end, hooray.
Another one. So, stick around. I'm still scared. On with the show.
Good evening, citizens, and welcome to HoloNet News. Tonight we take another approach to serving the Imperial Navy. When the galaxy was born and brave early humans looked to the sky and yearned for flight, all they had available to make their dreams come true were whatever winged beast they could harness and bend to their will. But today, of course, we take to the skies in the TIE LN Frontline Space Superiority Fighter, courtesy of Sinar Fleet Systems. The TIE Fighter is a symbol of Imperial strength and omnipresence, but we need more than just pilots. This week, why not find out if you have what it takes to be an Imperial engineer? Pilots are replaceable, but if they're going to have fighters to fly, then someone's going to build them, and it might as well be you. They say there's as many TIE fighters in the galaxy as grains of sand on Canto Bight. And to that we ask, what are you doing counting sand when you could be joining the Engineering Corps? As an Imperial engineer on a Star Destroyer flight deck, you'll get all the exciting benefits of membership in the Imperial Navy, such as traveling to faraway places and exploring the galaxy, and you should find plenty of time to enjoy it. Active military pit crews proudly boast the most easily managed workload in the Navy. After all, there's no need to maintain or repair a fighter if it doesn't come back at all. For more on Imperial key performance indicators, simply inquire in writing to your nearest naval barracks. Don't have the stomach for long-haul carrier deployments? Never fear, the Engineering Corps has plenty of desk jobs too. Engineers are highly educated individuals whose responsibility it is to lend their academic inclinations to improving existing fighter designs, keeping you safer by making your Navy better. All it took was a few strokes of a pen to remove the targeting computer, hyperdrive, shields, and life support systems from the Old Republic V-Wing to make the symbolic starships we know today. A ship that is actually safer because it's more efficient without all those bulky systems. And Wraith Sinar made history by saying that 1 ion engine wasn't enough, 3 was too many, and 2 was just right. Think you could do the same? Become an engineer today. This is Holonet News.
That was hilarious. That was one of your best ones.
I think that's my favourite.
Yeah. Oh my god. That humour though, that was some dark humour.
I've tried to make my Holonet News persona amusing, but honest.
Yes.
Alright, lead in. What are we talking about, Lockie?
I guess the first thing that comes to mind is the Solo trailer and what it's going to mean for Star Wars and for the game.
So, the first thing that we knew, when you watched from the teaser trailer, and I think it was the first couple seconds, especially in the teaser trailer, you see the new ties. Ha!
That excites me because that means more toys.
Yeah, absolutely.
I mean, if well, look, FFG is quiet at the moment in terms of the next wave, so we don't know what to expect at this point.
See, I've theorised that the reason they're quiet is they're waiting for the release of Legion, and about a week before the release of Legion.
So giving products time to breathe between different releases, that makes sense.
'Cause the other thing they did was release 2 waves at once.
True.
That is true.
Wave 13
Yep.
could have come, 3 or 4 months after Wave 12, but it didn't.
Goddamn, but my sense of entitlement demands a new toy.
Did they release the bomber before the movie came out?
No, it was all around the same time. Everything came in December.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, because we had We had the Silencer, we had the Bomber, we had the Cephalopede, we had the gunboat, we had everything. So,
What else is happening in this trailer that we like?
Well,
crew. So much crew for scum.
Woody Harrelson as a crew member.
Yeah.
Well, okay. How well do you guys know the character Talon Card?
Not very.
Not at all.
Have you heard of him before?
Not at all.
Not until now.
Okay, in old canon, Talon Card was was a smuggler and just sort of a criminal, and in Legends. Sorry, I keep saying canon instead of Legends. And in the old school, there was
in the good old days.
Yeah,
back
see,
in
there
my
was
day.
a
When
trilogy.
Chewbacca was killed by the moon. Sorry.
Oh, so sad. But there was a trilogy of novels, the Han Solo story, and that was his origin story. And Talon Card was sort of his father figure in a sense. He wasn't a very good father, but he basically ran this ship full of kids that he taught to steal, and Han was one of them. And actually, in this novel as well, he had a love interest who they may have taken inspiration from her. Her name was Bria. They could have taken inspiration from her for the new lead character.
Well, we are seeing a lot of the old Legends canon slowly bleed into the new canon. Like we've seen Thrawn, we've seen Defenders, we've seen.
I think that especially
aspects of it, not direct kind of picking up and lifting, but you're seeing some of that come across, which I like.
There's a bit of finesse with the writers, as they some of them, especially the ones that are written for the older ones, like the Solo movie and Rogue One especially. They've really. I think they have a real appreciation for the franchise.
Yes.
And so, as a result, an example would be, like, as you just said, they're bringing back little bits of it, but they're also bringing back larger bits, but kind of reshaping them to fit this new narrative. For example, he was a swoop bike racer in Legends, wasn't he?
Yeah.
And they're showing in this clip, front and center, him driving a speeder. So he is that.
Yeah.
Or as I like to call it, the Fast and the Furious Star Wars segment.
Fast and the Furious 2000.
Yes.
Yeah.
18 years.
Yes.
So the Amelia Clarke character, who's obviously going to be a love interest, that as you say, it might be they've kind of cherry picked some aspects from Legends but changed them.
Yeah.
And I guess it's pretty cool. We're going to see, well, we have to see surely the liberation of the Wookiees, because we got Chewbacca in there.
I don't reckon they're going to show that.
Well, the liberation of some Wookiee, because originally he was thrown out because he wouldn't comply with the mistreatment of the Wookiees. and I think he helped. He helped free them or sabotage their containment or something.
Yeah, I think he freed a few of them or something.
Yeah, that's how he got his life debt from Chewie.
Right.
So we won't see the liberation of all the Wookiees, but some of them we will.
Just quick side note: the opening trailer scene where you see him sitting in like a booth with a recruiter.
Mm-hmm.
It really reminds me of that scene from Starship Troopers where they did the exact same
Yes.
Oh, you're right. Actually, yeah. And can I just say, really interesting opening up with the guitar kind of sort of, it's I mean, I liked it. It's just a different vibe.
Now, Mike, I've been wanting to ask you ever since I saw this trailer, what did you think of just the few seconds where he was sitting there in this Imperial base talking to the recruiter?
Look, if it was me, I'd be signing up. That's pride.
That's all I hear. Pride.
That's what I felt. You know what it was? I did actually appreciate it because it's about building the universe.
Yes.
That's what I appreciate about it. Like, you're seeing different aspects to it. Yes, I love the Skywalker's family saga. I love all the kind of big stuff. But you know what? That's what I really appreciate. What I like about that, and what I really appreciated about Rogue One was it was building the universe and expanding it.
Exactly.
And even at the start of Rogue One, when they're going, it's on that some space station moon type thing, and they're just walking through the street, and there's people cooking stuff and all that kind of all those little world building aspects I really enjoyed, and I think that's good. And you know what? It's showing what the Empire probably was at that point. It was the government. It was a major source of employment. It was all that. So yeah.
The thing I've been thinking about the Solo movie for a long time. There's a phrase I've been hearing on the internet. I only heard very recently. Nobody hates Star Wars like a Star Wars fan. It's if people are saying they didn't like Rogue One or they didn't like The Last Jedi, then people are like, oh, if you love Star Wars so much, how come you don't like these things? And it's sort of like it's a double-edged sword. If you without question go and watch every Star Wars movie and love every Star Wars movie and not find any fault whatsoever, you're called a hopeless fanboy. But if you say, I didn't like Rogue One or I didn't like the prequels, so I love Rogue One, by the way. But anyway, if you say you didn't like things and people are like, oh, you're so negative. So I really didn't know what to think. But all I thought about Solo was, maybe Han Solo didn't need an origin story movie, and I thought, I won't go see it at cinema. I'll rent the movie when it comes out or something. But then, when I watched the trailer, as soon as I saw those few seconds with him sitting in just this Imperial base talking to an Imperial recruiter, that's when I thought, I will go and watch this movie.
Yep.
Because it reminded me of the scenes in Rogue One where they're just sitting in Krennic's office, kind of chilling out. It just showed, it makes the Empire seem real, and it's world building.
Yes.
And the droid in the trailer kind of looks like Lebo.
Yeah.
That's neither here or there. I'm just saying it.
Yeah.
It's really interesting. I've seen some criticisms of this trailer, and I'm skeptical at best when it comes to this movie. Because I've seen there's a lot of things that even the movie company has kind of admitted it might not do very well.
Yeah, I've read that too. Yeah.
That's upsetting.
It is, isn't it? And especially after the response from Rogue One. I don't think anyone here has any opinions on Rogue One. We're just not going to talk about it. Not Rogue One, sorry. Last Jedi.
Yep. Yeah, let's not talk about it.
Let's not have opinions on that.
I think half the internet has already done that.
Yeah. Anyway, we're gonna move strong.
Move on.
Actually, I think it's worth mentioning though that Lando is going to be in it. I think Donald Glover is.
Oh my god, so good.
He looks okay. Yeah. So
why of all the original trilogy characters that could have been in the modern Star Wars films, why haven't they had old Lando? Like, Billy D. Williams will be in anything. Billy D. Williams was in Battlefront 2.
Robot Chicken.
As playing Lando.
And Robot Chicken, yeah. But Billy D. Williams would probably come to your birthday party.
As Lando Calrissian for enough money. Narrative idea.
Yeah.
Billy D. Williams open story to Han Solo to Kylo Ren, and he's like, "Well, let me tell you about your father." That would be great, and it's
I like Lando. I think Lando's cool. Why hasn't he been in anyway? But so backstory about him is going to be good.
Yeah, I think the issue that I've seen a lot of people, or some people talk about, is that Han Solo is the most interesting person in the room. And he's surrounded by other people who are also the most interesting person in the room.
No, that's an interesting point, yeah.
So, we have that an Amelia Clarke character who seems really interesting, and I want to know about her. Okay.
So there's these characters, but let's talk about what's actually relevant to the podcast that we're in. There are going to be new ships.
Yes.
So
Scum expansion packs.
Yes.
Yes.
You know what the Scum needs? More crew.
do they?
No.
Do you know what the Scum needs?
What?
More awesome large base ships.
Yes.
You know what the X-Wing Miniatures game needs? Another Millennium Falcon?
So we had this discussion a bit before, and Scum has always had a problem with iconic ships. It's very rare that you see, X-Wings on the table. I mean, are they more popular now at the moment? Not really.
Wedge is part of this sort of jank torpedo list with Aaron Kraken, but...
Oh, that is cool. That is pretty cool.
You see Poe a bit. Poe's out there a lot.
Yeah.
Intensity Poe's out a lot.
And the same thing happens with Imperial. Like, whoever you're playing as Imperial, you could put down a TIE Defender, you could put down a TIE, TIE Aggressor, anything. It looks Star Warsy.
Yep.
The problem with Scum is no one knows what these ships are, and they're not supposed to look like X-Wings. They're not supposed to look like TIEs. So, as a person who plays it, FFG has kind of put themselves in a bit of a corner where they want to release Scum, but there's nothing iconic for Scum. This could be their break, by giving Scum a Millennium Falcon. Because that's cool.
Yeah, so what we see is a Scum Han Solo, a Scum Chewbacca.
Oh, yeah, I would love that.
Scum Lando.
Scum, that would be great.
And it gives a chance because Lando in the Falcon isn't particularly used.
No. Getting him back on the field is cool.
And as a crew card as well, which is...
All right.
Yeah,
Question.
So I think, here's an opportunity. You know what? I don't care if they release a third Millennium Falcon because people will buy it.
So, to be the third Han Solo.
It'll be the third Han Solo.
Would Han Solo, in his younger age, be a better or worse pilot than Lando?
Ooh.
What's Lando? 8?
In the game?
Yeah.
No, 5.
What, Chewie's 5?
No, Chewie's 5. No, Lando's 7 or something like that.
I think Lando's
7.
Yeah.
It's been that long, but his ability is not great.
Yeah, well, that's the thing. Yeah, it's been that long, no one uses him.
Yeah, that's right.
So maybe it might be an idea to have Lando Calrissian, since he owns the ship, he might be... He's 7.
He's a 7. Yeah.
Since he owns the ship, maybe he could be a better pilot than Han. Just to really signify that this is his ship.
Yeah, like a PS or a PS8 Han, or a PS7 Han to PS match them or something like that. Or it may well be that Han is a better combat pilot than Lando, so Lando could be 7 and Han could be 8. But all right, if the pilot cards and the ship were locked to Scum, would the crew that came in the pack be Scum only or Scum and Rebel?
Oh, you asked some hard questions.
And I demand answers.
Yeah.
Okay.
This is why I took over the show.
Yes.
I'll go first. I'm leaning towards Scum only, just because, I don't know. I think otherwise you're introducing more complexity to the game, like balancing it up against both the Scum and the Rebel faction. I don't know. I think thematically, I really like the sound of all these characters, all these iconic characters who started off as scoundrels, as rogues, being in the Scum faction, having some really cool abilities, and maybe not if FFG is going to do it, I'd like to see them actually be worth playing rather than just here you go. It's here's Lando with a very substandard pilot ability, which is like, great, I've just bought the box and I'm not going to play it, or I put it on the table once. So I don't know.
Maybe Chewbacca, maybe he'd be Rebel, but maybe not. I honestly, I don't. I think that FFG, you have your Imperials who play very much like Imperials, and the Rebels who play very teamworky. Scum is sort of always been about their crew. You know, with the Boba Fett crew card and originally I can't remember what his name is, Zuckuss crew card, Forlom crew card.
Yeah.
That's okay. I think if you have a faction that's known for its crew, keep giving it crew.
Yeah.
That's all right. So that's true. Everything you guys have said, I don't actually disagree with it. But I think, to use Owen's point from earlier, they're in a tricky spot now because Han, I don't think he would ever say he was, I mean, he smuggled things, but some of the scum characters are just evil. Yes, smuggling drugs is bad, okay, but also Han not evil, and
he did shoot first.
He did shoot first, Chewie's certainly not evil. We don't know anything about Emilia Clarke's character, and Lando again not evil. He was more of a gambler, I think, than anything else. So I mean, Lando, for example, I'm sure if the Alliance wanted to buy something off him, he would sell it to them, kind of thing. So
wouldn't this be pre-Alliance? All of these
this
guys...
is young Han Solo, so this is probably a good 10 years before the Battle of Yavin.
Actually, hadn't thought of it at all. The only point I was going to make was that in the game, Rebels have the most unique crew. That's indisputable. But they have so many crew that are not really worth using. If you talk about effective crew, they don't have the most. So if they... And Rebels, the play style of Rebels is very much kind of handshake. If they had some more crew that could mix things up a bit for them, it might, refresh. Like Rebels at the moment is just kind of bombs. But what if crew?
Yeah. Yes. Look. Yeah, sure. Why not? I mean, you could do it. It could be that to have cross-faction crew, you could use the model like they have with Darth Maul, who only crosses factions if Ezra is there as well. So
that would be really interesting. You could only use Chewbacca if Han Solo's in your list.
Correct.
And you can only use Han Solo if Chewbacca's in your list.
Yeah, something like... Yeah.
So you can only have either one or the other for the scum.
So it's
that
kind
would
of...
be cool.
Yeah, so that kind of stuff is thematic. And I think looking at the trailer, and again, sort of, if you were to say... How do you make it flavor? How do you give it that flavor? How do you make it thematic? I mean, this looks like it's a heist movie. It's about... What is a heist movie is? A heist movie is about putting together the crew.
Yeah.
You got the tech guy, you got the wheel guy, you got that kind of stuff. So I like the idea of that sort of, that fits well with Scum.
Yeah.
That kind of thing. I mean,
And Rebels had to steal stuff to get by. Look,
but the Rebels weren't even there. I think this is more. This is Han Solo when he was still scoundrel.
So you're right. I'm making a tenuous point that I have no right to make. Yeah. But the reason I want to make it is the Chewie crew card, not really used because it's not bad, but it's not great. The Han crew card really has no place outside of Epic. Mm-hmm. So no one uses Han, no one uses Chewie. What if this movie came out and all of a sudden it was like, oh my god, I'm going to use Han and Chewie all the time.
Mm-hmm.
So hey Mike, there was a TIE fighter in the trailer. You want to talk about
that? I've spent several hours looking at this thing frame by frame. I mean, not because I'm obsessive or anything like that.
Not at all.
Not at all. It looks like a kind of a heavy fighter.
It does.
It
looks like a bomber, doesn't it?
It's kind of like it's kind of like it's got like additional gun pods or cannon pods or something like that. So I don't know. Part of me says, look, that's interesting. I'd like to see what it is. Part of me says, is that another 2 agility TIE fighter? I hope not.
If they make it a 2 agility TIE fighter, it'll be unpopular unless they make it.
The SF is good.
Well, yeah, I was about to say unless they sort of do it for balancing purposes, because I wonder if they do it, it could be a TIE fighter with a cannon because the cannons don't really get used very much because on the Defenders people put the X7 which stripped all the slots.
Yes.
At the moment you occasionally see them.
You see a Vessery Mangler cannon out there.
Yeah.
Or a tractor beam one, yeah.
Yeah. But
I mean, not hugely, but you see them floating around. And they will float up to the top 8 or top 12 of a competition as well.
Yeah, but it's not common though is what I mean. Like you'd occasionally see a couple of generic B-Wings with expensive cannons on. Maybe they'll do the same thing. This is a TIE fighter that will have rubbish primary weapon and not very expensive, so you can cannon it up.
But look, you know what I think? What I think was really interesting. What the gunboat did, also what the Skrrg bomber did, is that it gave you a ship that was a bit more modular, in that you could kit it out in different ways. So the gunboat, you fit it with the cannon title. The or you fit it out with the missile title. The Skurg bomber, you can apply the title there, which removes the crew member. You can have the astromech and that kind of stuff like that as well. So maybe a TIE fighter, which has, much like the TIE Defender has the 2 titles that came out, another, toolkit type thing where you can mix up the design thing, open up the design space, your squad building up a little bit more. So
you think this might be the way of introducing an Empire-only mechanic?
Could be.
Like the Rebels have the astromechs and Scum have the illicit. Maybe this fighter will be the first, it'll have something that only the Imperials can equip, and this will be the ship that introduces it, and in future waves the Imperials could have...
Could be. Yeah.
So the other shot that I wanted to talk about is the barrel roll into asteroid
shenanigans. Which ends with Cthulhu?
What? Yeah, and then suddenly Cthulhu. And it's like, fine. It's fine.
In case people don't know, it's the tentacle monster thing.
The tentacle monster.
Not the hentai monster.
Yosh Sagoth. I've seen enough hentai to know where this is going.
Stop.
But I want to know, could you see any sort of potential action/attack like that? Barrel roll into opponent and then force them to barrel roll. And
I like
put them into a rock.
That'd be cool. You bump them it's almost like the tractor beam. You get to bump them and move them one.
You're the tractor beam.
Yeah, so move them the one template, one some other way or something like that. That'd be fun.
All right, if they worded it so cool. you can't barrel roll that way, but they could do if they use the word maneuver. So if it was like you perform a maneuver to the side, and if your base touches their base, they must immediately.
Well, why couldn't you do a barrel roll?
Because you force a barrel roll on them.
You force a barrel roll onto them. Yeah.
Or you fly into them and
by touching them. It's a cool idea though.
But it's sort of, I don't know, that'd be fun. It'd be sort of like slamming a falcon into somebody and just kind of pushing them.
And then also it could be like if they hit a rock, cause 1 damage.
Yeah. Well,
on top of what the rock can do.
Reminds me of there was a
give them a damage. Oh, actually, then we'll be turning Star Wars into Crash Derby.
That makes me think there was a mission in the Shadows of the Empire N64 game back in the day where you were on a swoop and you had to escape to the other end of the map, and you had no weapons, and swoop bikers were chasing you. The only way you could defeat them was to bump to the side. So you had to smash them into rocks to blow them up without shooting them. So this just kind of makes me think of that.
That could be cool.
Yeah,
it could be a really interesting game mechanic.
It could be. So we're all comfortable with the idea of a Scum Falcon.
Absolutely. I really think they need to have more iconic ships.
Yeah.
For Scum on the table, even for a marketing perspective.
Yeah.
Like marketing, but
branding.
I think it's branding, and I think that's the way you attract new people. And not that X-Wing needs new people because there's a lots of them.
Yeah.
But that's how it got new people, and that's how it will continue to get new people.
Yeah.
Put that ship on there, and people say like, "Oh, what's this?" Well, it's not Rebels, and it's not. This is the Scum faction. It could be even like a new starter kit for Scum, because that one's outdated and not very good anymore.
Well, in the same way, the Force Awakens kit, which was the Falcon and Poe, basically gave you a kit that you could just buy and put on the table, and you've got a squad and you're good to go. Similar thing. I mean, also we spoke about earlier before the show recorded, does it provide an opportunity, or at least maybe thinking about getting other iconic ships back into the Scum faction, like the Slave One, like the... So, I don't know, I keep hearing rumours about Boba Fett being in the Solo film. I hope not.
I reckon he will.
Goddamn fanboy service. Sorry, fans.
Well, they're making a Boba Fett movie.
Yeah, true.
When are they going to make the Kenobi movie? I'd watch that.
I think it's before the Boba Fett movie.
Oh, they actually are?
I'm pretty sure.
Oh, okay. Good.
2.5 hours of Ben getting up in the morning in the desert.
just watching a boy grow up. Yeah. It's kind of creepy. But
no, there's a book. There's a book. It came out last year for the 40th anniversary of Star Wars called A Certain Point of View. It's a book of short stories all set during A New Hope. I've got it and I read it, and there's one about old Ben on Tatooine, and it is fantastic.
Okay.
Yeah. So go get that book.
Yeah.
Yes. But to keep to the topic we said we talked about before, you guys were talking about iconic ships. What ships do you think should come into the game sort of moving forwards?
Oh, deep breaths here.
Okay, you guys are stumbling. I think the A-Wing...
T6
Hunter.
Yeah. But in before T60 fix.
Yeah. No, I reckon if they... Look, the A-Wing, the RZ-2 from the Force Awakens trilogy was not in The Last Jedi very much, but it was pretty big in Battlefront 2. Now, love it or hate it, hate EA, maybe you haven't played the game, maybe you have, whatever. If you have played the game, if you played Starfighter Assault much, the A-Wing in Battlefront 2 is great, and it really made me want to play with A-Wings again. If they can, and I put a picture on our Facebook page basically saying, what would you think if A-Wings had 3 red dice? And that got a lot of responses. And if the A-Wing, if they made something, I don't know, something that replaced Shardan Refit, maybe you didn't get the points reduction, but you got an extra red dice. All the A-Wings, I mean, 2 hull and 2 shields is okay, 4 total HP. The Rebels need an interceptor, a strong, kind of fast ship. Like, yes, the Rebels are supposed to have support ships, but the thing is, you need a ship to actually support. Yeah. And the Rebels, yes, their shtick is mostly tanky ships, but can we have one fast one,
We need
please?
a tight silencer of the Rebels.
I miss flying the A-Wing in the same way that I had... when the TIE silencer came out, I put that on the table. I had... From the very first moment, I was having fun flying that ship. I think the Rebels sort of need a similar thing. And the A-Wing is a joy to fly.
Yeah.
The only thing, as you say, Lockley, the thing which... And I've been saying for a while too, it needs a 3 red. You can balance it out some other way.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'd buy a couple of those easy. Yeah.
Well, yeah. Like I think the points need to go up for it, because I think when it came out, it was supposed to be a reasonably cheap ship, wasn't it?
Yeah.
So I think if you bumped the points up and said this is the new A-Wing or whatever it was, then you really could justify giving it better dice and a better dial and better.
Well, dial's okay.
Oh yeah, the dial's okay. With that. Yeah, the dial's fine.
Yeah.
I mean, especially for an early wave ship. Hot damn.
Yeah.
2 green hard. Great.
Yeah.
I didn't grow up in these ages where 1 hard was green. Silly.
Okay, so talked about things that could come into the game later for whatever reason. Is that about enough for now?
I think so. Yeah.
I think in the absence of the news from FFG, which will probably mean tomorrow they'll release something.
It will. It'll happen tomorrow, and I'm just going to flip tables.
It's usually how it goes.
Yeah. All right, let's move on to lore. I want to hear about this Sonar fleet system.
Our rebellion is all that remains to push back the Empire. We think you might be able to help us.
My God, our lore master and research man has done it again. He's holding about half a book in front of him that he's written for this lore. So brace yourself, people. It's going to be good.
Let's hope so. So, listeners may recall in the past I've done some other episodes. I did the one about the Imperial Navy, which was sort of delving into the history of that. The other one we made up the character Silas Full, which was a fictional TIE fighter pilot.
That one.
So that one talked about this. So if you like, this is the final part of the trilogy. And this is...
Are there going to be tiny teddy bears? Because I will be very disappointed.
Yes, the TIE fighter flies in and just peppers the Ewok village with lasers and they're all dead.
Yes!
That's... No. No.
I just killed Lockie's childhood.
Oh.
Okay.
Vicious. Ewoks are vicious.
All right. So let me jump into this. So what I wanted to do was actually start off with a personal reflection. And one of the things when I first started playing this game, people would say, "What made you want to play X-Wing apart from being Star Wars and everything?" And what made me want to play was being back in 1983, sitting in the cinema watching Return of the Jedi at the Battle of Endor, and I saw this TIE fighter, which had these very sharp, pointy wings, flash by on the screen. And my 14-year-old brain went, "That is the coolest thing ever."
For sure.
And that was the seed for my love of the Empire, the TIE interceptor. I know everybody says Empire Strikes Back is the greatest Star Wars, and I appreciate from a storytelling, filmmaking perspective, but my heart belongs to Jedi. I think because of that final battle, that sort of that swirling, massive battle around the Death Star and everything like that. So,
well, as a child who grew up with the remasters, and I watched them when I was a kid, I think that Return of the Jedi was the best movie, and it was a really pleasant movie, very enjoyable for children, and because I enjoyed it so much as a child, I am now talking about it on a podcast.
Yeah, pretty much. I mean, yeah.
For me, The Empire Strikes Back was really bloody dark.
Yeah.
And I didn't like it as a kid. I didn't like it at all. Yeah. I really hoped the next movie wasn't going to be like, but it wasn't. There were teddy bears.
There was teddy bears and lightsabers. That's what we wanted.
It was cool.
Yeah.
Sorry, I interrupted.
No, please. So, look, what I want to do, so I'm going to talk about the TIE Fighter. So talk about both its origin in terms of why it was created for the Star Wars movie. Talk about its history. Sort of like, we know there are TIE fighters for pretty much every situation. But also talk about the real world analogy about that. So I'm actually going to give you a little bit of history of actually how the TIE Fighter itself came into existence, not in the universe, but in our world, in the filmmaking world. So it was designed by a guy called Colin Cantwell, and he was working for ILM at the time. Now,
Industrial Light and Magic.
Yes, so all the rest of it.
You are gunned.
Yeah, I know, right? So he was there. So Colin is a legend. Colin designed the TIE Fighter. He came up with the concept of the X-Wing. He also designed the early models of the Star Destroyers and the Death Star.
Oh, really?
And he worked with Ralph McQuarrie, who's well known in terms of helping. Colin is one of the guys who also helped create the look and feel of the Star Wars universe as well. So he started off by actually getting a couple of wings, a little styrofoam ball, and a stick, and stuck them together and said, "This is the TIE Fighter," and Lucas loved it. And so it started off as that. The details were later added by another artist who put the sort of the eye cockpit on it and all that kind of stuff as well. So, other thing, the sound of the TIE Fighter, that distinctive sound, the
Foley.
Yeah, that kind of thing. That was created by a sound engineer by the name of Ben Burt. How he created that, he put together the sound of an elephant and a car skidding in wet cement.
Oh, that's cool. I knew how he did the laser sounds.
Yeah, which was hitting a wire, wasn't it? Yeah,
hitting a light bulb.
Yeah.
Ben Burt did some amazing stuff. I'm pretty sure Darth Vader breathing was him with a scuba mask.
Yeah. So when you think about it, and to me, what this is, and this point's been made many times, Star Wars was created. Lucas came up with the concept in that, but really Star Wars was the product of all these other artists contributing to make this sort of this greatness that it is. It was decided that, and sort of when I think about the TIE Fighter, it was decided they were meant to be mysterious and ominous, so they just appeared from nowhere. And then eventually you see them hanging from ceilings like that. So I remember when I first saw that, I got the distinct feeling like they were like these giant evil bats just hanging in a lair, just kind of like just drop down from the ceiling and stuff.
That's actually a really interesting point. I can't think of any point in time when you see a TIE Fighter take off.
Yeah.
I think in Rebels
you do, but
on a movie, it's just sort of, it's like, it's not like you see them come out, it's like suddenly there's a swarm of them, oh god.
In Rogue One at the gates,
you see them
at the
come
end,
out,
the cloud of them.
That's
and
like
that's a swarm of bats.
That's what I mean, like, so it has that kind of feel. So
that's good.
So when you think about it, they're meant to be ominous, they're meant to be mysterious, they're meant to be all that kind of thing.
And they are.
Yeah, and they are. Anyway, so good old Colin, he's still alive. He tours the science fiction themes. And if you want, go to his website and you actually get a signed copy of his original designs and stuff like that as well. Cool. So anyway, so I think that's pretty cool knowing the origins of that as well. But what I wanted to talk about, so what was the TIE Fighter? The TIE Fighter has a real world analogy in what we would call the fighter aircraft. So what is a fighter? So what Star Wars did was take this concept that's been around since World War I and World War II, and the idea is of a small, fast, maneuverable aircraft which has a lot of firepower and has one job and one job only: kill other airplanes, kill other craft. So the analogy there, what you would call an air superiority fighter, in space, in Star Wars, it's called a space superiority fighter. the thing that you want these things to do is establish what you would call dominant or complete control. So in the real world, this will all make sense when I get there. In the real world, if you think about today, what does a modern military force want to do? It wants to establish complete dominance over the enemy, especially in the air, because that way you can attack ground targets, you can attack their troops, they can't attack you and everything else. So the idea of the fighter is to deny or suppress the enemy. So the TIE fighter comes from that heritage. So if you think about it, its analogy is that's what it's there for.
Yeah, well, in Star Wars, it was supposed to be a symbol of oppression, that you look up in the sky of your planet. I mean, I think they did this on Lothal quite a lot. Look up in the sky, it's full of TIE fighters. There's no hope for you.
They even did that in Rogue One on that planet.
Yes.
Yeah. There was like, when you look up, there's that the
Star Destroyer.
Star Destroyer, but then TIE fighters.
Yeah.
So in lore, it's actually not uncommon for Imperial commanders to send the TIE fighters to buzz population areas so people would hear the sound of the engine, because that was a continual reminder of their presence and how just, scary they were.
Well, it was like the Germans. What were the bombs? The
Stuka.
Stukas dropped?
And that's exactly, it's very analogous to that. Yeah.
They were designed to make that sound on purpose, weren't they?
Because they had a siren. They had a siren attached, so when the plane dived, you heard that siren. That was psychologically. And so the TIE fighter, similar kind of thing as well. So the kind
that's clever.
Yeah. Okay. Also, the other thing which I find really interesting, so the thing which I most love about this game, X-Wing, is the dogfighting aspects. And so again, when you're watching the Star Wars films, what you're seeing is pretty much them trying to mimic dogfighting in World War One and World War Two. Your planes kind of like doing all these different maneuvers. They sort of, they're doing turn circles, they're positioning, they're trying to position so the enemy overshoots you and all that kind of stuff. And we do that in the game on the board. So I think in many respects, game used to be about dogfighting and not about bombs or harpoon missiles.
Harpoon missiles and the splash damage.
I think the game sort of mimics that very well in that respect there.
Tell me if I'm stepping on your toes here and saying something you were going to say, but I read sort of the making of Star Wars, and Lucas, he was a filmmaker for years before he made Star Wars. He got movies that had dogfighting sequences and cut those sequences out and basically just made himself a long movie that was just dogfighting sequences, so he could study that and make his movie have dogfighting in it.
Correct. Because it's essentially especially with certain parts, the attack on the Death Star. It's a World War II movie.
It's the Dam Busters.
Yeah, so I was actually going to mention that. So 1955. So I don't know if you guys have ever seen it.
I have not.
I would say go to YouTube. Listeners, go to YouTube as well. The film is about this famous raid in World War II where British bombers flew in low to attack German dams, and they had this thing called the bouncing bomb. They released the bomb and it would skip along the surface of the water, hit the dam wall, and then blow up. So it's a film, but when you're watching this film, you know what you're seeing? You're sitting in the cockpit, and it's racing along the base of the water. It's racing towards the dam wall.
Shot of the,
and there are gun towers which are on either side, and they're shooting night tracers at you. And you look at that and you go, trench run.
That is the
trench run. So it's just worth, and you kind of go, so
God, he was a genius.
Yeah. So this is why I'm kind of drawing all these things together. So what we have, and this is I think lightning in a bottle in terms of New Hope. He took this concept of dogfighting films, like those films were popular since the First World War and World War II. He took together like the Dam Busters. He took together this sort of bits of space science fiction, all the rest of it, and then he just had this kick-ass, battle.
So he was a visual genius who just happened to not be able to write dialogue at all.
Pretty much.
Well, I will still maintain he is a visual genius. Even his old movies.
Yes.
Even Industrial Light and Magic, he was on the forefront of technology. Correct. He was like, we've got to bring this level. But now looking back at it, it's terrible. But at the time, hot damn.
Yeah. I think we've discussed on the podcast before, even talking about the prequels and stuff like that. At the meta level, at the sort of grand vision level, Lucas is fantastic. He just needs to farm out the responsibility to writing and editing and directing and to everybody else. And sort of anyway, we'll move on from there.
Get over sand.
Yeah, that's all right. Okay, so let's move on. So let's move on to the in-universe stuff. So let's talk about the TIE Fighter itself. So the TIE Fighter is ubiquitous. We know what it looks like. We know what it sounds like, all the rest of it. So the TIE Fighter LN, the classic TIE Fighter as we know it, is what I like to call the first gen TIE Fighter. It's the first generation. So end of the Clone Wars, the new Imperial military machine has inherited a whole lot of the old Republic type stuff. There was a spaceship there called the V-Wing, which was effectively sort of didn't look like a TIE Fighter, but similar concept. Had a little cockpit, had some solar panels. It was a small, cheap fighter.
Is that the Jedi one?
No.
It's similar to it, slightly different. Anyway, so the Empire had, so as we know, the TIE Fighter was commissioned and built by a company called Sinar Fleet Systems. They also had another arm called Sinar Army Systems, and they built the AT-ATs and other stuff like that.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, didn't know that.
Yeah, so they were doing pretty well.
Yeah.
And as we know, we've talked about it, but it was at the heart of this was actually a piece of revolutionary technology. It was the twin ion engine developed by one of the company's leading engineers and owners and all the rest of it.
Wraith Sinar.
That's it, Wraith Sinar. Thank you very
God.
much. Yeah.
Come on, man.
Yeah.
You just drop that one. Just know all of Star Wars extended lore.
Yeah, I do. Now ask me an important question about real life. I won't be able to answer it.
Yeah. So the thing about the TIE Fighter was that it was cheap and easy to produce. It had limited systems, so they stripped out the hyperdrive. It didn't have a life pod support system and all the rest of it. And as we joke about, these things were super fragile. As a first generation TIE Fighter, I'm going to argue that it actually failed.
Really?
Yes.
So you're talking Zero BBY. Those TIE fighters, they failed.
They failed for a couple of reasons.
Ooh.
So because if we go back to my earlier concept, we were talking about what is the point of a space fighter or what is the point of the space superiority fighter? It is to gain and maintain control of an area, of the battlefield as such. The TIE fighters were just simply outclassed by the X-Wing.
So tell me, you seem to know more about real life stuff than I do. Tell me if this is correct. I think originally in aviation in war, the first step was the bomber. You wanted to destroy something the enemy had, so you sent your bomber.
Yes.
So you wanted to then protect the bomber, so then you had the fighter.
But the fighter...
So the interceptor, because that's a real thing. In real life, there's an interceptor. So the interceptor was designed to kill the fighter, wasn't it?
And the bomber, no, more importantly, to kill. So what the TIE Fighter was, and I actually can draw a real-world analogy, if you remember, TIE Fighters had a short range, no hyperdrive, they had to be on a base, they had to be on a Star Destroyer. So they were positioned there to protect locations, to protect military assets and all the rest of it. So that is what is called a point defense fighter. It's a short range fighter which is there to protect the installation or the base or the Star Destroyer from other incoming ships.
Right.
The TIE Fighter, for whatever reason, was outclassed for a number of reasons, was outclassed by the X-Wing.
I think it's moral superiority.
Well, actually, kind of, yeah.
What?
So, no, seriously. So a couple of things happened there. So the reason why the TIE Fighter was outclassed by the X-Wing was a number of reasons. Number one, the X-Wing had more guns and had shields. Mm-hmm. So we know that. The other thing was, the fact was that the Rebel pilots were allowed far more initiative and had far more latitude to make decisions about the engagement. So the TIE Fighter pilots were on a much shorter leash as well.
Well, that makes sense, but you reap what you sow. If you're going to turn your pilots into brainwashed zombies, you're going to get brainwashed zombies.
And that's pretty much what happened. The other thing that happened was the Imperial Navy actually didn't give much thought to the tactics or usage of Starfighter because all their interest, everything they thought was centered around the capital ship, around the Star Destroyer. That's all they cared about. So the TIE Fighter, the fighter arm, and at that time, before the Battle of Yavin, was split into two. The Army and the Navy had TIE Fighter forces. They really didn't give too much thought or too much, so they didn't really deploy them in an effective way. So as a consequence, the rebels who had better ships, who could use their own initiative a lot more, but also had hyperdrive, so they perfected the hit and run tactics, just simply outclassed the TIE Fighter. So that meant, they had invested a lot they'd retired all the other stuff, so they had ships which were effective in, again, say, pirates, about keeping control over a local area. but as a space superiority fighter,
They weren't superior.
they weren't superior. Which then led to the development of the TIE Interceptor. Eventually. In the interim, the Sino was developing 2 other ships, which you know as the TIE Advanced X1, which is Vader's ship, and the TIE Advanced Prototype, or the TIE Advanced V1. Both of those ships...
Inquisitor ship.
The Inquisitor ship. Much more advanced ships. Shields, hyperdrive, missiles, all that kind of thing. The problem was they were hideously, or at least by their standards, hideously expensive to produce. So they couldn't mass produce them. That meant they ended up being used by the Imperial elite. So Vader had one in the old canon. A few other people had some of the TIE Advanced. In Rebels, the Inquisitors have the TIE Advanced prototype because they're using those to hunt down rebels and stuff like that as well. But rather than going with these expensive ships, what Sino developed was the TIE Interceptor, and that had more guns, was faster and more maneuverable. So that ship was a direct response to the Rebels X-Wing and their fighters. So by the time you got to the Battle of Endor, at that point the Imperial Navy had swapped out or retired at least 20% of the original TIE fighters, and started phasing in the TIE Interceptor.
So does that mean that if the Empire hadn't been defeated, theoretically there would be no TIE fighters? There would be TIE Interceptors.
TIE Interceptors. So for me that posed an interesting question, because what happened if you got to the Battle of Endor and rather than a whole mess of TIE fighters, it was all TIE Interceptors, which in many respects weren't quite the equal, but almost on par with the X-Wing, almost on par with the Rebel ships. So
And there was just a lot more of them.
And there was a lot more of them. So the Interceptor didn't have shields, but again was a very effective fighter at that time. So that's what I would call the second generation of TIE fighter.
Cool.
Thinking of improving and coming forward generations and things, I've been wondering lately, would bringing the TIE Interceptor back into the X-Wing Miniatures game be as simple as
giving it a shield?
Just giving it, no, not even shields. Keep it thematic. Just give it more hull. What if an Interceptor was exactly the same points, but it had 5 hull instead of 3? Would people play it then?
I mean, people play Fang fighters. You can. I mean,
That's true.
Yeah.
That is true. It's just food for thought.
Yeah. I've often thought about. Again, this goes back to the problem of how do you bring back early waves of ships.
I think more on that.
More hull on the Interceptor I think would help, because it's all you've got is 3 hull in the modern game. I mean, people are throwing 4-5 damage
easily,
and crits and stuff, and so Anyway, as this was happening, the Imperials started developing what you would call a 3rd generation fighter. So you can see what's happening. So the interesting thing, analogies here, is that this is what happens in war and conflict. It prompts innovation and iteration. So the question is, how come there's so many goddamn bloody TIE fighters?
Because I just needed better TIE fighters.
Pretty much. And this is actually what happened in World War II. When you think about the rapid technological change, so in 1939, half the air forces in the world had biplanes. By the time you got to 1945, you had V1 and V2 rockets, jet fighters, all that kind of stuff. So there's this, and sort of a lot of planes started off sort of serving through the whole war, but they'd be completely redesigned. They'd take the chassis and completely rebuild it and modernise it, give it new engines and new guns and all that kind of stuff as well. So
it's because some general woke up one morning and went, actually, you know what? Maybe our planes shouldn't literally be made of wood and canvas.
maybe our plane's gun shouldn't literally fire through the propeller.
Yeah, exactly. I don't know. Maybe it shouldn't be a gun. Maybe it should be a big ass cannon.
Yeah. What if this could also fire bombs?
Yes. That kind of stuff.
But it's kind of funny when you have the old World War One planes.
Yeah.
You get to what is actually happening in Star Wars, where you get the first World War One planes. They were a dime a dozen, and they would send them up, and then your return rate was something like 30%.
That's right. I mean,
it was terrible.
Pilot lives were literally measured in hours.
Yeah.
Like the average, I think that I can't Google this, but I think it's something like, for some instances, the average lifespan of a pilot on the Western Front, if you were British, was like, I don't know, like 18 hours.
Yeah, it was horrible. It was a horrible time. World One. Oh my god.
Yeah.
But consider them the TIE fighters.
Yeah.
Now consider modern day jets.
Yes.
And you go, well, how many does Australia have? 3?
Yeah. Yeah.
Maybe. I think one blew up in America recently.
Yeah.
Oh, it's just giving away our national secrets.
No,
There's people who've been waiting to attack our country. They're like, we can't. Australia's got too many planes. What's that? They only have 3. Let's go get them.
Yeah.
Well, I think America. Well, I'm not 100% sort of the number, but I think America's got the biggest army and budget in the world has got 40. That's their entire get out there. I'm probably wrong, but I think it's quite low
Probably like
compared
$500
to
million each, though.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
But the thing is, one of those planes could kill 10,000 of the old ones.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
who's the idiot?
Yeah, well, I think... No, and actually, and that again is another kind of real-world analogy. So when I was thinking about the X-Wing versus the TIE Fighter, so Owen, what you were talking about, and sorry about if people like their military history and technology as I do, so the what's the F-22 Raptor, which is the American sort of 5th-gen fighter or whatever it is, when they do combat exercises against what they would think would be the enemy, it gets a kill ratio of something like 20-1.
Yeah.
And so that's what the X-Wing is. The X-Wing is a top-of-the-line fighter which just simply outclasses everything else.
Yeah, baby, 20-1.
That's right. I feel the need for speed.
Major League Gaming. Ooh.
Yeah. Yeah. Anyway, so I'll go a little. I'll speed things up a little bit. So what was happening? So you had this constant innovation. Now, going to my favorite ship. Actually, really important in Star Wars lore and canon, by the way. Just to mention, by the way, of this. So on Lothal, Grand Admiral Thrawn commissions the design and production of a brand new space superiority fighter, which is to be the best thing in the galaxy, the thing to beat everything, the TIE Defender.
Oh yeah, that thing is scary.
Yep. So
I hated when they got that buff. It took
the
me
X7.
I hated it so much. It's like they just won't die. I've shot you so many times. Die.
The borderline unplayable before, but
Now I think they're in a good spot. But
they're good spot now.
Yeah.
But anyway, look, this was probably at the time one of the most advanced space fighters in the galaxy. Shields, hyperdrive, 6 cannons, missiles. This thing was
it did not care.
This thing was a beast. Fortunately for the Rebels, very few of them were produced.
Well, isn't the whole point of the Rebels TV show to towards the end of it is to blow up their thing because they're freaking scary. Oh my god, they're on Lothal. We've got to blow it up.
Yeah, and there's that mission where I think the Empire's going on Mon Mothma and she's trying to escape, and that's that wonderful, glorious scene where the Defender comes out and just blows up all the Y-wings.
Wasn't it one or two Defenders, and it just wipes
just one
everything.
Just one.
That's right.
Yeah.
It just wipes all the things that the Rebels have. I was like, that's about right.
Yeah,
that's how my games go.
Yeah. So this is what I would call a third generation in the TIE Fighter line. Now, fortunately for the Rebels, as we said, they didn't have them. There apparently was one at the Battle of Jakku, one Defender there, but that was it. Now, the important thing about the Defender is the Defender actually now becomes the bridge between the old Empire's fighters and the First Orders, because when the Imperial guys buggered off to the outer regions until the Imperial Remnant and all the rest of it, you know what they did? They went, you know what is really good? I really like those Defenders. They're really good. So a lot of the technology, a lot of the design thinking, all the rest of it, were actually incorporated into the TIE-FO and the TIE-SF and the new TIE VN or the TIE Silencer. So the Defender is the design bridge, it's the engineering bridge. Because what you see, because also Imperial Navy or the First Order doctrine about space fighters changed. So rather than being cheap, expendable, all the rest of it, they actually valued their pilots. Hence, that's why the FO has a shield. It's why the SF has a shield and ejection seats as well. And also, if you notice, it also has an atmosphere. It has a life support system in there as well. So a completely new design philosophy around the thinking of the space superiority fighters. And also, the Silencer The intent with that is, so Kylo Ren has been flying that, but he's been working with what is the new version of Sinor Jameis Fleet Systems, which is the inheritor of the old Sinor systems. He's been working with those guys, giving them information because the intent is to mass produce silencers.
Far out.
Which I think is
My
just
God.
glorious.
That might have just fixed a massive plot hole for me in The Last Jedi.
Yes.
What? Okay.
Yeah.
So,
Yep.
the scene where...
Because you were going to ask about this, were you? Yeah.
Pardon?
Oh, go ahead. Sorry.
Right,
Yeah.
there's the scene where Kylo Ren goes in and he shoots out
Yep.
and he shoots thing and you
Yep.
know and Leia
Yep.
goes
Yep.
Superman.
Yep.
One plot hole for me was they said they call him up and
Yeah.
they say you need to come back. You're too far away. We can't support you.
Yeah.
I was thinking, since when did they bloody care?
Yeah.
Who the hell gives
Yeah.
a crap about a
Yeah.
freaking bunch of TIE fighters?
Yeah.
They want it back.
They want it back because
Exactly.
it's their $1 billion spaceship.
So that is the prototype. So Ren is flying around and he frequently sort of gives Sinor the logs and he works them and all the rest of it. Because again, what they want a space superiority fighter. They want a fighter which will simply So that the old Empire, their approach was to flood the sky with a whole lot of cheap things, but they found that didn't work. So they've gone the other way to go, we will, invest in the technology and the systems to create a space fighter, which is just simply superior to everything else.
And there was only 3
Yeah.
that I think that entire cruiser had.
Yeah.
Or how many did it fly? I can't remember.
Yeah.
It's been too long.
Yeah.
But I think he was him and 2 wingmen.
Yeah.
And they all came back.
Yeah. But the thing about the VN, about the silencer, it does take a lot of skill to fly. So it's I sort of think initially at this point, at least, is what I understand in canon at the moment, is that only elite pilots have access to it.
Son of Solo.
Yep, some Solo, all the rest of it. But that is what we're seeing then is the TIE FO and the SF is what I would call the 4th generation fighter. So again, we've gone to the Defender, we've gone to the FO, to the Special Forces, and now we're hitting what I would call the 5th generation of the TIE fighter line, which is the silencer. And that's it.
All right.
Love it.
That was awesome. Like, really, really enjoyed that. There was one question I wanted to ask you.
Sure, please.
You might not have an answer for this, and that's fine.
Yeah.
Plot hole for me in Last Jedi was when they get on this luxury cruiser in Rose hops in and what's DJ?
Yeah.
Also best character in that entire movie. Hot damn.
Yeah.
The best character.
Yeah.
Hops in and he's like, I wonder who owned this originally.
Oh, and it brings up the hologram
And it
thing.
brings up the holographic thing,
Yeah.
and it shows that they're selling AT-STs,
Yeah. and
they're selling the new AT-ATs.
Yeah.
And since you've said to me tonight that Sinar made both the ground and the air troops, I'm thinking to myself, now I'm thinking that was one of the owners of Sinar, his ship.
Yeah.
Why was he also selling X-Wings?
I don't know, and I actually don't have an answer to that.
Okay.
Could be just...
That's fair.
Yep. Something, space wizards.
Yep. Plot holes. It's
Plot
fine.
holes, yep.
Plot holes are plot holes.
Yeah.
All right. Let's round out the show. Please release me from these restraints. I swear I'll be good.
No.
Ah.
Hey, you're not permitted in there. It's restricted. You'll be deactivated for sure. Don't you call me a mindless philosopher, you overweight glob of grease. Now come out before somebody sees you.
Okay, so this is the end of the show. This is the final segment, but it's not shoutouts. We're going to do something a little bit different and see if it works. Even though it's audio only, we're going to do an unboxing.
What's in the box? We've got a box.
So
Here's the box in front of me. Like, how do we do an audio? All right, whatever. Look.
So it's going to be worth it. Look, listeners, go on our Facebook page if you want to see a photo of what these guys are about to see.
Okay.
Have you put it up?
But you get no.
It will.
But you're going to hear their reaction, and that's what's going to
Okay.
be worth it. So you remember the other week we shouted out to one of our listeners, Louis.
I knew. God damn it.
He had said a few months ago. Now when I shouted out to him the other week, I didn't know this was coming. He didn't know I was going to shout out to him when he sent it. It all just happened naturally. He said to us months ago that he'd really enjoyed the show and could he send us a present?
Oh.
I remember that,
which is just a really nice thing.
I think I said to you even this, like, didn't another guy send us a thing, and you were like, no.
So there's a cardboard box here next to the microphone.
Okay, I want you to do the other one,
Are you guys going to open this or what?
This is ASMR. I can't be opening this podcast. Oh.
Oh, that's satisfying. What is this?
I saw this a few days ago. I haven't told them what it is yet.
Okay, I don't want to look. Mike, it's on you. What is it? What? Oh, that's sick!
It is the most beautiful thing I have ever seen. Oh, so cool. Okay, listeners, this is genius. It's a tie interceptor made of knives. It is beautiful.
So Louis,
mate, this is beautiful. Oh my god!
So just to clarify, Louis went to a 3D printing website called Shapeways, and he bought us a pair of tie hunters.
That's the best. Oh, this is the coolest.
It's so real.
I'm so excited.
Oh my god! Can I just say thank you? This is just magnificent. This is the best thing I've seen.
No, it's not.
It gets better.
Okay, so all right, I'm gonna put up photos of these because the models are fantastic and
they
painting.
Painted them.
Louis
amazing.
painted them.
Thank you,
It's
Louis. That
paint
is
job.
fantastic.
I really appreciate the fact that this is the same color scheme as the original TIE Fighter.
And there's an SF one.
Oh no!
He even made us check this out. He even made a card. This is a pilot card to go with it. The Storm Command generic pilot.
Oh my god!
Just put some photos.
I want to play it.
No, I don't think you want to play that, Mike. I think you want to play this. So, do you actually know, Mike? You say what it is.
What up?
Oh,
that is so cool.
Oh, I'm speechless. Louis, I need to shake your hand, my friend. This is magnificent. So he's created a pilot card. It's Pilot PS7. It's called Baron Mike Gone Dark and the TIE Hunter.
That's so cool.
Oh, this is the best thing I've ever got. I'm sorry. When you reveal a K-turn or an S-sloop, treat it as a white maneuver. Oh my god, an S...
So you have Ryad's ability.
I have Ryad's ability.
Nah.
Well, kind of.
No, Ryad's
No,
one
it's
is
green.
when you... He's got LOAST's ability.
Yeah, it's got arrows. But this is...
Except better because you can be stressed.
This is magnificent. Yeah. So two red, three green, 3 hull, 2 shield. It's got a focus, a target lock, a barrel roll, and an evade. It's got a torpedo slot, it looks like, and an EPT.
And Louis suggests that if we're going to play with it, we use the TIE FO dial, and he's given us a title as well that allows the ship to equip a cannon, which makes up for the 2 reds.
This is magnificent.
Dude, you put so much effort into this.
This is amazing. I'm touched.
Speechless.
No, I'm touched. I'm really touched. What's going on? This is... Alright, I'm going to tear up. This is amazing. Lachlan, speak for me, because I think this is beautiful.
We've done pretty well in the past couple of weeks with listeners sending us presents. We're going to put photos up to show people the wonderful things we've got. And so, yeah, just thanks Louis. This is amazing. I can't wait to show people photos of this paint job and this ship. And
can't wait for one of you guys to fly it.
I'm going to fly it on Monday night. This is magnificent. Oh my god, this is... Okay, he's my favourite human being.
Oh my god, I'm done.
These things,
I have no words. I'm done.
It's beautiful. It's a thing of beauty.
So cool. It is so pretty.
So this is why, these have been sitting on my desk at home for about a week, and I haven't told you guys because I wanted to record that.
That is awesome.
All right.
Oh
so,
my god.
I
I legitimately thought that got lost. Like, I remember him saying he was going to send us stuff, and I was like, "Oh, that's awesome! You know, that's great." And I don't know what it was going to send. I had no idea. I thought it just got lost in the post, or he forgot. And I was like, "That's fine."
Oh, actually, speaking of which, I thought it was really nice. I gave him my address, but he addressed it to Hell of a Pilot at our address, which I thought was really nice. It ripped when I opened the box.
Okay.
But yeah, so that's our show.
You're a legend.
Thank you. That's amazing. I'll tell you what. I'll fly this on Monday night, and I will report back. In fact, you know what? I'll take some photos and do some video and post those up as well, because this is
so cool. I really appreciate that he made it almost. I would say like it's a balanced ship.
Yeah, it's good design.
It's not silly. Or
No.
like I really think this was a good
we need to
template for.
Do you know what? This needs to be posted on FFG's forums. And
This is what we need, boys.
Yes, this is
make this.
Just make this. FFG, do it. This is magnificent.
So
Wow.
yeah. Anybody got anything else to say before we end the show?
I'm
done.
I'm so happy.
I have no words. I'm finished for tonight. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, Louis.
Thank you,
Thank you, Louis. That's
Thank you,
amazing.
listeners. Thank you for listening to us.
Thank you. Yeah, thank you to everybody. And can I just? I'm all choked up. What a fantastic community we have. So thank you.
This has been like the most positive episode we've done in a long time. We start with before we show up, before the podcast starts. Oh, I got these lovely alt art cards, and they're awesome. And I'm so happy that they sent us. Then you tell us on the show that we're on Australian's best podcast. It's like, what is going on? And now we've got these, and I'm emotional.
Yes.
Mike's a mess.
And it's not just us getting things. Like Rathanathar Squadron's getting some alt art cards for the first time.
Great as well.
Oh,
yeah.
exactly. It's
Yeah,
so
it's good.
positive. Oh, I love you guys, listeners. I don't know who you are out there.